Hello, dear friends. This is Nilesh Patil sir, and I welcome you all in this second session. We are studying the first chapter of history, the rise of nationalism in Europe. You might remember in our last session, we studied the painting by Frederick Cherieux and the idea of nationalism. My dear friends, in today's session, we are going to talk about the French Revolution and the idea of nation. You might wonder, why are we studying the French Revolution again? Are we going to study it the same way we studied it in ninth standard? No, dear friends, here we are going to talk about the impact of French Revolution. This picture that you can see on your screen is very familiar to you. This is the fall of Bastille. Now, you might remember that on 14th July 1789, the people of France, Paris, attacked this fort prison and they destroyed it completely. They freed the prisoners therein. So, this was a blow to the monarchy. This was the event with which started see the French Revolution, and it brought about great changes in Europe. So we are concerned about these changes. They say the first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution. It was the first time that the people in France rejected monarchy. Earlier, it was considered that the monarch is appointed by God to rule them, to govern them. But now people said, we will rule ourselves. We will carve our destiny. So they say in history that the first time nationalism was expressed clearly through this French Revolution. People declared that they will be ruled by themselves. So after the French Revolution, there were constitutional changes, there were political changes. You might remember that a national assembly came to be formed, and the members here were elected by active citizens in France. The monarch had to leave his power. Actually, he was beheaded. Louis XVI, you might remember, was guillotined, and people began to rule the nation. Now, my dear friends, the French revolutionaries, they adopted various measures so that people can relate to the nation. France was a full-fledged state when this revolution took place. Now there were different people living. So how to create unity in them? How to create the feeling of oneness in them so that they can identify themselves with the nation? That was a task. And the revolutionaries took some steps that we are going to study in this session. This is a very important topic, and many times a question has been asked on this topic. I will also tell you the important questions based on this topic. Let us now study the steps taken by French revolutionaries to create a sense of common identity or belonging. So you can see here the idea of la patrie, that is the fatherland, and les citoyens, that is the citizen. Such ideas emphasized on a notion, on an idea that a united community which enjoys equal rights under a constitution can live together. So basically, they earlier everything was in the name of king. Now they considered a nation as their fatherland and themselves as citizens. Earlier they were subjects. They were subjects of a ruler, a king. Now they were citizens of a country that they had constituted. So they were governed by a constitution. Then they designed a new French flag. It was a tricolor and it replaced the earlier royal standard. The Estate General, you have definitely heard about the Estate General. It was a body of, you see, the citizens of all the three classes. So the Estate Generals was renamed. Now it was called the National Assembly. It was a body of active citizens. I hope you remember, dear friends, the concept of active citizens and passive citizens. Let me tell you, in France, those people who earned and paid 3 days of a man's wage as taxes, they were only allowed to vote. They were considered active citizens. Others were regarded as passive citizens. Okay, so I hope this point is clear. They replaced the earlier royal standard with the French flag, the tricolor. Then they renamed the Estates General as National Assembly, which was elected by people. Then new hymns were composed. Now, a hymn is just a song. You might remember Marseilles was the song that they sung. This later on became their national anthem. Then oaths were taken. Martyrs were commemorated in the name of nation. Earlier, everything was done in the name of the king. So martyrs are those people who die for the nation. So basically, earlier they died for the king. Now they die for their nation. They were commemorated. They were paid tribute. They were respected, honored in the name of their nation. Then a centralized administrative system was put in place so that like people can be ruled or governed by the same set of laws applied equally to all the people living in France. So there were uniform laws in all the territory. So these were the steps that were taken so that people can feel that they are citizens of one country, that they are common. Then you see there were some more steps that they had taken. Internal custom duties and dues were abolished. So see, from one part of France, when people traveled to the other part, and if they carried some goods and sold them, they had to pay custom, that is taxes. Now they abolished the custom duties on goods that were actually sold within the French territory. Like in India also, like do we pay taxes that for the products that we sell in other states? So no, there is no specific tax. So custom duties were you see abolished. Uniform system of weights and measures were adopted. So in the whole country they used same kind of weights and measures. Then regional dialects were discouraged, and French language, as it was spoken in Paris, written in Paris, that was encouraged as a national language. So they did not allow people to speak different variety. A dialect is a variety of language, right? So they promoted French as it was spoken in Paris. Then let's see the question based on this topic. The answer I have already explained, and the question is what measures and practices were introduced by the French revolutionaries to create a sense of collective identity amongst the people of France, the French people? This question, my dear friends, has been asked multiple times in board exam. The exact wording of the question may differ sometimes, but the question based on this topic has been asked. I hope the thing that I have explained here, the answer that I have explained here is clear to you. Moving on, dear friends, you might have a question in mind. Okay, sir, you told that in France they took steps so that people can feel that unity and all. But ultimately, Napoleon Bonaparte, he became the ruler of France because there was a lot of instability, right? So, did he contribute to the process of creating this sense of collective identity? So, the answer is yes. Napoleon Bonaparte introduced something called civil code. It is also known as Napoleonic Code. Dear friends, through this civil code, Napoleon brought about great changes in France. He made the administrative system in France more rational. No doubt, he destroyed the democracy in France, but he changed the system in such a way that this oneness, this collective identity could be promoted. So, in the administrative field, as I said, he incorporated revolutionary principles so that the whole system will be rational and efficient. So you might have a question in mind, sir, what were these changes that he brought about? So first of all, he did away with the privileges based on birth. You might remember this was one cause of French Revolution. The people of first estate, the people of second estate, they enjoyed certain privileges that the people of middle classes and the third estate did not like. So Napoleon Bonaparte abolished all these privileges based on birth. Then he established equality before the law and secured the right to property. See, Napoleon accepted all those things that had actually contributed to the French Revolution. They did not like the monarch because there was no right to equality, because there was no right to property, and like there was great inequality, economic inequality. Napoleon did away with all these, you see, the wrong that he tried to correct in the society. Then he exported this code to the regions under French control. So Napoleon did not just become the ruler of France, he occupied other parts of Europe. Wherever there were monarchs, Napoleon wanted to defeat them. Napoleon considered himself as liberator of Europe. He wanted these dynastic rulers to be, you say, defeated, and he wanted to establish his rule and introduce this concept of liberty and, you see, end of privileges based on birth and equal laws for citizens. So where did he introduce this code? In the Dutch Republic, in Switzerland, in Italy, Germany, in whichever parts Napoleon established his rule. He introduced this Napoleonic Code. He made administrative system more efficient. Administrative divisions were simplified. He abolished feudal system. He freed peasants from serfdom and manorial dues. Now, some of you might have a confusion here, though we have studied this topic in 9th standard French Revolution. Serfdom was a practice of keeping bonded labor. See, they paid very less to the worker, and the worker had to drudge, had to work on the field of the feudal lord. So, Napoleon did away with this. Manorial dues were the dues paid to the feudal lord. Napoleon abolished these two. Then in towns, he removed guild restrictions. Now, I'm sure you have a question about guilds. Sir, what are these guilds? So these were traders organizations, merchants organizations. Merchants used to form a guild so that they could control who came into the profession, what were the prices of commodities and all. So this kind of, you may say it was a kind of a union of traders, union of merchants. So they had imposed various restrictions so that you see they could control the entry of new people in the profession. So guild restrictions were removed, transport and communication system were improved. All this, my dear friends, in a way contributed to creating a sense of belonging, creating a sense of unity, collective identity among the French people. Now, let's talk about reaction of people to the Napoleonic Code. Did they like it? Yes, there were a lot many things that were good. Peasants, definitely they were freed from serfdom, so they liked their freedom. Then artisans, workers, new businessmen, they all enjoyed this freedom. Like earlier, they had to face various restrictions. Like, see, if there is a businessman and he's going from one place to the other and he's paying multiple times custom duties, he won't like it. Now, because custom duties were removed, uniform system of weights and measures was introduced. People liked it. The businessmen, they actually enjoyed this freedom. They thought this way business will prosper and their life would improve. So they were very positive. So one point I left, that was a common national currency. See, there were a number of currencies being used in different parts of France. Napoleon brought it down to only two. So there was common national currency, and they believed that it would facilitate movement of goods and exchange of capital goods, and this would, you see, help to prosper their business, improve their business. So they liked it. But did all people like? That is the question. Did they all like Napoleon? Did they accept him as their ruler? So the answer is no, not all. There were some people in France, like the areas, not in France, the areas which France had captured or Napoleon had captured to be particular. So in these areas, the local population earlier welcomed Napoleon and his army because they saw him as their liberator. They thought, now Napoleon has come, he will give us political independence, he will improve our life, right? So they were expecting things from Napoleon, but that did not happen. Initially, his armies were welcomed in Holland, Switzerland, and in certain cities like Brussels, which is now capital of Holland, uh, Mayence, Milan, Warsaw, that is the capital of Poland. So in these cities, people welcome Napoleon, his armies, because they thought, now Napoleon has come. He is going to give us liberty. They called him a harbinger, that is a messenger of liberty. So they welcomed him. But what happened? This initial enthusiasm has turned into hostility, enmity. Why? Because the administrative arrangement that he had made were certainly positive, but Napoleon did not give political freedom to the people. In France, people had wide ranging rights, but in other parts, Napoleon was simply their ruler. He increased the taxes, he censored any publication, any view that was against his rulership. Then there was forced conscription into French armies because they required soldiers. So they forced the youth of these countries to join the French army because they wanted to capture the rest of the Europe as well. So these all things seem to outweigh the advantage of the administrative changes. So on one hand, Napoleon did something good that people liked initially, but when they got to know that Napoleon is not our liberator anymore, he is just a ruler, so they disliked this part. Now, my dear friends, this is just one part, and I'm now going to discuss the questions based on this topic. So here is the first question based on the topic. You can read it. When was the first clear expression of nationalism noticed in Europe? I think the answer is too simple. I don't need to give you any options, but still I will provide you the option. So the first clear expression of nationalism, as you remember, it came with the French Revolution, and the French Revolution occurred in the year 1789. So I hope this answer is clear to everyone. Let's move ahead to the next question. The question is, which country became a full-fledged territorial state in Europe in the year 1789? This too is a very simple answer. You know what country we are talking about. So was it Germany? Was it France, England, or Spain? The answer is very obvious. It was France. Moving ahead, let's see the third question. Which of the following was not the feature of Napoleonic Code? Now, this is a very important question. If you have very carefully listened to this topic, you will be able to answer this. Equality before law. So, did Napoleonic Code guarantee equality before law? Universal adult franchise. Did this code give all the people of Europe France, right to vote, right to property, and no privileges based on birth? So there is only one thing that the code did not guarantee, that was universal adult franchise. How he would? Because it was not democracy. He was a ruler, so he doesn't need votes of people, right? So Napoleonic Code guaranteed equality before law, gave the right to property to people, then did away with privileges based on birth, but it did not guarantee universal adult franchise. Next question. Which newly designed flag was chosen to replace the earlier royal standard in France? So, yeah, there are four options here. Was it Union Jack, tricolor, red cross, or white satire? So, I said it clearly while teaching. It was a tricolor. Here's the next question. In which of the following parts of Europe the civil code was not introduced? So there'll be four options and one of them is not correct. So was it Holland where it was not introduced? Italy, Switzerland, England. So if you carefully heard, my dear friends, it was in England that it was not introduced. England was ruled by a king. In parts of Holland, Italy, Switzerland, Napoleon had established his rule. Now, here are some important questions based on the topic, friends. The first question, the French Revolution created a sense of collective identity amongst the French people. Explain the statement with suitable arguments. This question was asked this year itself in 2024 and it was asked for 5 marks. So, the answer of this question is the measures and practices that were introduced by the revolutionaries to create a sense of collective identity. I said it was an important question, right? I have included this question in the session itself, but it was in different words. So yeah, this is an important question. Explain any four reasons how the initial enthusiasm of the people of France turned into hostility after Napoleon's takeover of France. Dear friends, this was asked in 2008 for 3 marks. So you will simply have to write the four reasons, right? Like he introduced custom duties. Oh, not he removed custom duties, but he increased taxes. Then forced conscription. He made people join the French army. Then yeah, the administrative changes did not go hand in hand with liberty, right? Political liberty. So they did not have any political liberty and censorship. Yeah, people had to, you know, the rulers used to see what they are saying, what they are publishing. So everything, they were restricted. There was no freedom to express their opinions. So for 3 marks, this question was asked. What was the main aim of French revolutionaries? See, this topic is not discussed in this session. Actually, this is just 1 mark question, and I'll tell you the answer. The main aim of French revolutionaries was to liberate the people of Europe. Actually, they saw or they said that it was their aim and destiny to liberate the people of Europe from despotic rulers, from uncontrolled rulers. Then, how did Holland, Switzerland, Brussels welcome French armies? It was asked in 2012 for 1 mark. I told you that they welcomed them as harbingers of liberty, messengers of liberty. Then, the next question, Napoleon had destroyed democracy in France, but in administrative field, he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system rational and efficient. Friends, this question was asked for 5 marks, and see, this question is based on Napoleonic Code. So you had to write what were the, you see, things in Napoleonic Code. That will be the answer. Next question. In which year did Napoleon introduce his civil code? And I hope you know the answer already. Yes, I'm not going to tell you the answer. If you don't remember it, now go check it and note it down. So thank you, dear friends, for listening to this lecture. I'll see record the lecture on the next topic very soon, and we'll let you know. And this is the second lecture. I hope it was better than the previous one. I hope to improve with each session and help you out and reach to greater number of students so that I can help them as well in their studies. Thank you and good day.